In a season as short and diverse as the 2022 Indy Elite Series, changing setups and mindsets from track to track is as important as staying out of trouble. From one of the largest ovals on the schedule to one of the smallest, drivers must change their habits and maybe their expectations as we head to Iowa Speedway and the sprint race tonight, known as the Iowa 170. Hi, everybody, and welcome aboard to the Iowa 170. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Finney and DeCuna for the second race of the 2022 season. Finney, and welcome aboard. This is going to be a fun one. Short track racing a week after the 2-mile speedway up in Michigan.
Yeah, and you really nailed it there when you're talking about how he went from such a big track like Michigan, such a tiny track like Iowa, if I'm not mistaken, the smallest track on the schedule, if not one of the smallest tracks, because it is really, you can't explain how much of a difference in driving style there is to come from such a big oval, because to most people it's just turning left more or tighter through some of these corners, but it's a completely different driving style. Instead of the pack racing where you see these guys fighting for inches, they're going to be fighting each other maybe side by side, if not cutting each other off very hard to keep their track position. Track position is going to be key in this race, so you got to watch out for that. We saw quite a few drivers make mistakes on pit road last week at Michigan. If you make a mistake here, you're not only going to go just one lap down, you're going to go 2 laps down, you're going to just drop down the order like a rock. So you have to be very careful around here. It's going to be very tight, the battles. You could see a few cars end up in the wall due to how tight the racing is.
Well, qualifying already underway. Jacob Oster on provisional pole right now. Some drivers still waiting. Some new drivers to talk about too once we get into the race, but have a look at the weather. 69 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, 72 on the racetrack. A beautiful night for racing here in Iowa. Wind just 3 miles an hour out of the east. Tonight will be a 170-lap race. It's going to go by extremely quick once we get into it. Tonight, staying out of trouble will be one of our keys to the race. We'll talk about those in a little bit. But Finney, last week at Michigan, it was Robert Malechka, the hometown hero, that came home and won at Michigan. Here's a look at what happened last week. Catalyst 317 at Michigan is green. We're racing.
Andrew has been trying to make up some ground all the bottom lanes. 14 to be left still, move up to 10, now 8. He's trying to make a pass to David Adams.
A chance to avoid it. Oh, there is trouble behind him. Crash in turn number 2. There's a car upside down, tumbling. Push from Pablo Diaz-Francis. No, he jumps to the outside. We're 4 wide for the lead. There's no way they're going to make that stick. Michigan Speedway, and the Catalyst 317 goes to Robert Malechka out of DeWitt, Michigan for Power Slide Motorsports. He wins at Michigan.
And definitely earned that one on my books. Been unfortunate finish under caution, but that fantastic move on the last restart definitely earned this win for the night.
So with Robert Malechka taking home the round 1 victory last week in the Catalyst 317 at Michigan. One of the drivers we talked about a lot last week was Jason Brophy, and Finney, that came down to pit stops. That was what took the 88 out of the mix until he was involved in a crash later in the race. Took himself out of the running there, though, a couple times with a few botched pit stops.
Yeah, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, or 3 times in his case. You know, it's a bit of his own fault. It just way too many mistakes that took him out of the order, and he was a fast car. And even tonight, looking like he's gonna be a contender up near the front, qualifying provisionally in 5th place. So definitely one to keep an eye on. But again, he's got to be. He has to make sure he's not his own worst enemy down on pit lane.
Here's Alexander Ball in the number 12 car, yet to qualify. There's still about a dozen or so cars that have not yet made qualifying efforts, and Alexander Ball is going to slide across the start-finish line and will not record a lap that time through. Here's Chris Cahoe in the number 57. Robert Malechka, last week's winner, about to head onto the racetrack, and he was not one of the top favorites in the fantasy picks this week because his price increased coming out of the victory out of Michigan. So he was the fantasy pick last week and lived up to the expectations, but this week I think the expectations have fallen just a little bit, if only because of the price in that fantasy. That's all done in the Indy Elite Series Discord. Tony Schowen was a factor last week a little bit, never made it all the way to the top of the board there, Finian, but jumps up to 15th on his first lap of qualifying. We'll see if he can do a second lap a little quicker.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, the first lap may be the faster of the two. One driver I'm also keeping an eye on coming out at turn number 4 is Mitch Welker as he starts the lap. And first start in this series, if I'm not mistaken for Mitch, I don't remember seeing him in Indy Elite before, but has competed in quite a few different IndyCar series. And I can tell you, after racing against him, he is one fast cookie.
Yeah, out of Mankato, Minnesota, the number 16. This is sort of a home race for him with the Project 2 team. And first lap is 22nd in the books. Now, I'm curious to see how Mitch will do on the ovals versus the road courses. Bit of a bobble off of turn 2. And you're right, this is the first time that we've seen him here in the Indy Elite Series. This is a bit of a change, though, Finian. Open setups here in this series versus a lot of fixed setup racing that Mitch might have done in the past. 21st place in qualifying. I think he'll probably race better than he qualified. Here is Alexander Van de Sant in the number 97. Was up front a whole lot last week for Powerslide Motorsports out of Atlanta, Georgia. He's going to start his qualifying effort now.
Yeah, we saw him at the front of the field for for pretty much a majority of the race last week. And then again, as you mentioned, completely different style of oval here this week. We'll see if he can also find himself close, if not near to the front, from some very familiar faces near the front this week. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see him top 15 or so. We'll see first time across the line. Ooh, only 26. We'll see the second one is looking to be just a hair bit faster. We'll see if it's enough to put him anywhere in the front half of the order.
Let's see how he does as they come out of turn number 4 and across the line. 16.742. That'll be good enough to put him 9th. Not a bad effort by any stretch. Alexis Newsom comes home in 12th. In her number 63, Matt Hollaba now just beginning his laps. There's Wayne Hunter, Austin Espedy, Marshall Stanley, and Alex Ball, the last couple drivers that do not have any times up on the board. Matt Hollaba will probably be the last driver to get a legitimate run in here.
Yeah, and as you mentioned last week, that there was a max fuel limit of 33 drivers. We had 34 attempt. One driver had to go home. Only 31 attempting for tonight, so everyone is going to be able to start this race no matter what. For Hollaba, though, I imagine he's not going to want to sit for 27. We know for him, his specialty is definitely the ovals. As he comes across the line here from 27th, where will he end up? In 20th.
Yeah, I think he would have liked a little bit more than that, but that's all he's going to be able to get. Jacob Oster still at the top of the order. David Adams second, then Chris Cahill, Tim Holgate, and Chris Stouffer. The rest of your top 5. A lot of that top 5 looking very familiar to what we saw last week at Michigan, even though this is a totally different thing here, Finian. One of our keys to the race, and let's go over those now while we've got a moment. The short track tempers, Finian. This is going to be a frustrating race. Passing is going to be a major challenge this evening.
Yeah, and it's not typical short track jumpers we would see in a series like NASCAR. You can just kind of punt the guy out of the way if he's driving, not to your standards. With this, you kind of have to just sit in line and kind of hope for the best, hope that he makes a mistake. And really, a lot of this race is going to be patience. It's just a matter of, waiting for the guy in front of you to make a mistake, take advantage of the draft, try to do a slingshot, and just build up a run out of a corner. That's going to be a lot. It's going to be very hard to do. And as you mentioned, the second one, definitely a sprint race, only 170 laps, which sounds like a lot. It's more than what we had last week, but these laps are absolutely going to fly by. I mean, we're looking at mid-16s for the lap times.
Well, that means that this race will be about 47 minutes long from flag to flag. That's very, very short. And gaining positions, we mentioned how hard it'll be on the racetrack. It'll be a lot easier to get those in the pits or even lose them in the pits, so you got to be perfect down there in pit lane. That's something that the 88 of Jason Brophy will be focusing on heavily in this race here tonight. Time to go through the starting lineup here, Finian, on the front row. Starting up in front, Jacob Oster with a 16.575 alongside David Adams. In the 00, he will start in second.
Yeah, and starting in row number 2, it's going to be Chris Cahill on the inside. It's Tim Holgate going to be starting in 4th.
In row number 3, starting in 5th, it's going to be Chris Stouffer in the number 13 car. Jason Brophy, after last week, he's going to want redemption. He starts 6th in the number 88.
Back in 7th, we find Robert Malechka, last week's winner. Going to try to make it 2 for 2 tonight from that inside row in row number 4. Next to him, Joe Branch, the 20 in 8th.
In row number 5, Alexander Van de Sant starts in 9th in the number 97 with a 16.740. Tony Schowen starts 10th in the number 31.
Clinton Lazier is going to be starting in 11th in the number 3 car. Alexis Newsom going to be starting next to him in 12th.
In 13th place, Mega Chris Fowler in the number 20 car, involved in a crash earlier in the race last week. We'll try to go for some redemption. Brian Carey starts 14th in the number 79.
Dan Edge going to be starting on the inside in 15th, and next to him, Andrew Wood going to be starting a little bit further back than what I would expect the 64. He's got a little bit of work to do back in 16th.
In 17th place, AJ Musselman in the number 54, and Craig Forsyth starts 18th in the number 27 car.
Julian Altena going to be starting in 19th, and next to him will be Matt Halba in the 02 and 20th.
In 21st place, Tanner Watkins in the number 24. And on the outside in 22nd, Evan Adams in the number 59.
Aero is going to be starting back in 23rd. Mitch Welker in the 16 car going to be starting in 24th.
In 25th place, it'll be Andreas Ike. In the number 76, John Downing starts 26th in the number 21 car.
We find Jeffrey Wallace in the 99 car in 27th place. Austin Espedy was supposed to be starting in 28th, is not on the track just yet. Not sure if he's starting from the pit. We'll see before the green flag flies.
And 29th, Lee Marshall Stanley, Alexander Ball. In 30th, Wayne Hunter wraps up the rest of the field here at Iowa Speedway. 170 laps. It's all going to kick off in just one more pace lap. Quick look at the weather one more time before we turn them loose. 69 in the air, 72 on the racetrack. A beautiful night for racing. Here's a look at our race analysis. 170 laps will be our race tonight. 31 drivers at altitude just under 1,000 feet. This race will be just about 150 miles here this evening. Jacob Oster out front. He was new to the series. Well, he's not new to the series. I should correct myself. He's been here in the past. One of the winningest drivers, perhaps in the Indy Elite Series. Just has been a while since he's been back up at the front for Team I5G. We'll start alongside David Adams in the Sadie Sim Autosport car, that blue and white livery that's been with us several seasons over. So 170 laps with a 31 car field. Last week at Michigan, it came down to the final 2 laps. They were still swapping positions. A caution brought out the end of the race slightly prematurely. They're going to try to go the full distance tonight out here in Newton, Iowa. The Indy Elite Series in 2022. This is the second race of the season. The Iowa 170 is green, and we're racing at Iowa. Oh, trouble. The second place car's in the wall. David Adams pancaked it at the exit at turn number 4 there, Finian. So lap 1 in. Does David Adams have any damage? He might have gotten away with it, but it's frantic and fast here on these opening laps.
No, he definitely got some damage. He hit that wall pretty hard. You know, sometimes you might have a little bit of a kiss when you underestimate the air wash, but even then, you just had a really high exit out of the corner. I think the tires just not up to 10th, and he's already getting past in the inside. Tim Holgate making the move in second place.
Things go by so quickly here. Makes you dizzy watching him sail around here so fast. Jason Brophy on the attack now to the inside of Chris Cahoe in the 57. Last week's winner, Robert Malechka. Look at the run that Cahoe got on corner exit just up the road, but got kind of stopped in his tracks by that 00, struggling on the outside.
Yeah, and Christopher trying to make a move to the inside lane. Definitely looks like Adams is hurting. That car not handling up the spec. Stouffer going to get around. Everyone's just kind of lined up, ready to take a shot at David Adams. There's Malechka, last week's winner, trying to make work on the 00. It looks like he's just going to be slowly dropping to the back. And he's already. I said we weren't going to see some back racing, but here's some back racing here at Iowa.
Oh, this makes me nervous. Here's Joe Branch. We'll ride on board with them down the back straightaway and into turn number 3. It's getting real sore and dicey here into 3 and 4 here, Finian. Frantic and speedy as we complete lap number 5.
Ooh, we're going 3 wide already up ahead of them. Everyone trying to get around Adams. KO almost went flying into Jason Brophy because he was trying to get out of the outside lane, stuck in behind Adams, but there's really not many places to go. They somehow managed to hold it 3 wide for multiple corners. Brophy trying to edge one up on Flynn Lazier, who's stuck on the bottom.
Jeffrey Wallace slow on the apron with damage to the front and rear of that car, so the 99 is in trouble here early. But look at this mess into turn 3. But if you pull the cameras off these guys for 1 second, you know what, they're going to wad them up, and it'll be a big deal.
Yeah, and KO finally able to get past Adams, but lost quite a few spots in the process. And again, everyone's just trying to hope that Adams stays out of the way because they're just all passing one by one. And for Adams, it's got to be so frustrating knowing after only 1 lap, his chances of a win are pretty much thrown out the window.
And watch out for dirty air here. These cars are going very, very fast, relying on a lot of downforce. You're not going to trim the car out here like you would at Michigan. These cars are going to be running a ton of downforce, and because of that, they're going to be producing a huge wake. And if you get in line, Finian, it's going to be very difficult to turn following 2 or 3 cars.
You have to be very careful coming off the corner if you're running in high. If someone cuts your nose off, you're going to be flying to that wall very quickly, and that's really the big thing to watch out for.
Alexis Newsom started in 12th, running in 12th right now. She's got David Adams in the crosshairs here. That'd be a top 10 position if she could get up and had a shower in the Coca-Cola car just up the road. How about Robert Malechka, 7th to 4th, climbing forward again, and attacking Christopher on the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, he's trying to make some big moves, and that separation with Adams has caused a big shakeup in the order as far as the distance to the leaders. I mean, Adams is currently already 6 seconds back. There's a huge amount of separation between second and third, and third and fifth. They're separated by a couple of seconds as this pack still continues to form up.
Well, also lap traffic will be a concern. Jacob Oster's built a 1 second lead. The drivers all the way at the back of the pack are already 10 seconds behind the race leader. When you do a lap in 16 seconds, that tells you we're almost into lap traffic already. This pack behind Brian Carey in 11th place is still getting pretty racy. Alexis Newsom, David Adams, Chris Fowler, Andrew Wood all in this pack. Make me very nervous. Here's Mitch Welker in that number 16 car moving forward here early.
Yeah, and typically Welker, he said, is a fast car. I would say probably more so on the road courses. He's very much a fan of F1 style cars and that kind of speed, and very good at the IndyCar road courses. So if he's around here more in this series, the road courses will probably be more of his edge. But I mean, don't count him out on the ovals as he's trying to move his way slowly up the order.
Especially not at a place that is familiar to him, being relatively close to him, where he lives in Minnesota. So this track, I'm sure, is one that he's probably been to. All over the back of a couple of drivers battling it out just ahead. There's Andrew Wood, who was a factor at least at the beginning of the race last week, was spun entering the pits late in the Michigan race and caused a yellow that kind of set up the tail end of the race in the dramatic fashion that it ended. So Andrew looking for a bit of redemption here this week, as well as Stouffer and Brophy battle for 5th.
Yeah, Stouffer looks like he's kind of getting picked off a little bit here. He was fighting with Malechka not too long ago. Here comes Brophy trying to get to his inside as he flashes his internet just a little bit there. It's going to looks like it would be easy pickings for him as he moves up one spot.
Race is already 10% complete. That's how fast it's going by. Here's Matt Hollibaugh all the way back in 18th place, battling David Adams, who, again, we documented, started up in second, pancaked the wall on the opening lap, and has fallen down to 19th place. He is begging for a caution, hopefully not him, to come reset that right side of that race car.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do, too. I mean, you hit the front wing, hit the rear wing, you can at least replace it. You can just take it off, replace it, takes about 5 seconds, but the side body work is a lot harder to repair, a lot more of a lengthy repair, but I mean, I think Adams is hoping for something, anything to fix at this point in the race.
Well, look at Chris Fowler trying to go the long way around Mitch Welker. This is a battle for 15th place. And a good one. Fowler closes on the straightaway here, but when you get to the corners, he was trying to run a little bit higher than Welker. Welker denies him that line, and they stay nose to tail for now.
Yeah, Welker already one of the biggest movers of the race, up 9 positions since the green flag drop, started back in 24th, up into 15th. He's trying to prevent himself from losing one more spot as Fowler's got a pretty big run. Going to try to throw it up the inside. It's turn 1.
And goes really the short way around. There's a big bump there on the bottom of the racetrack. Slides up in front of Welker on corner exit. That was almost a drama there, and Welker certainly cut him a break.
Yeah, typically slide job mostly reserved for moving stock cars, not so much in Indy carts, but you're going to find yourself flying into the wall at a very high rate of speed, but Fowler able to pull it off. Welker having to sit in behind.
Good thing about the bump here in an Indy car is that you've got enough downforce going over the car that if you hit that bump and it unsettles, the car will kind of naturally straighten itself out, but it certainly doesn't make it feel very good when you slam over that crease in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Here's Joe Branch battling, I think that's Chris Stouffer on the outside. This is for 8th.
Yeah, both of these drivers side by side entering the corner. You know, high lane, low lane, kind of pick which one you want. High lane's really good. You can get such a good run on that outside, but that inside lane, obviously, shortest way around most of the time is going to get the job done for you, especially it seems like a lot of the guys making the passes happen down the bottom.
Not missing anything out front. It's been Jacob Oster leading the way for the first 25 laps. He has an 8/10 of a second lead.
You want to take a look at him because he has got a traffic jam on the Iowa Interstate up ahead of him. Look how many cars he's got to navigate.
Oh boy, this is going to be very interesting. We're getting to lap traffic here at lap number 26 here, Finian. Right ahead of him, that's Dan Ench in the 52. Tanner Watkins, David Adams over about to go a lap down. That shows you how much that damage has cost him here. And this is going to be tense moments for Oster as he looks behind. Tim Holgate in second is about to run him down as well.
I think there's some, you can, as a leader, you kind of rest easy because you know the guy in behind you, he's got to navigate as many cars as you do. And so Oster can kind of just take his time a little bit. You can't waste too much time, but just kind of pick and choose the battles here. It looks like lap cars giving him a bit of a break as he navigates through.
Yeah, the tricky thing is that you're the first one to get to the lap cars, and you're typically the one that has to split them up as Holgate goes middle 3 wide. and splits 2 of those lap down drivers and closes that gap up to Oster. The gap is now just half a second, now 0.3 of a second into 3 and 4. Robert Malechka, another 6.5 to 7 tenths back.
Holge gonna have to lose a little bit more time as he was trying to get to the inside of Adams before they got out of turn number 3, but that cost him about a couple of tenths, and it pretty much separated out before they went through that pack.
You dizzy yet? They're flying around here as the lights are starting to come on around this 3/4 mile racetrack. Chris Stouffer, Tony Schowen, Brian Carey all fighting for 9th. Pretty tight battle here. Stouffer, or Schowen rather, did a top to bottom and cut Brian Carey off in that final corner, but man, all that gap that Holgate had run down on Oster just disappeared. But now Oster's got more cars to deal with.
Yeah, I was looking when he was mentioning Chris Stouffer. I'm not sure what's happened to him. He was up there in the top 5 earlier on in the race, and he's just been kind of slowly dropping back. Not anywhere near as severe as David Adams, but he was up as high as around 3rd position. He's dropped back to 10th. So, and this is more of, you know, maybe he burned up his stuff or something.
Trouble, turn 1, car in the wall. Aaron Roofs is in the fence, and there's another car involved in it as well. And we are still green.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to see a caution. I can't see. There's not an opening on the track for Roofs to pull down and then get out of the car. He's going to have to stop it up high. And even then, I'm not sure if he can stop it with the wheel damage. He might not have enough brakes.
Yeah, there was A.J. Musselman also involved, but...
Oh, yeah, there's a spin to the inside as well. Huh.
Yeah, let's go back and have a look at it from high above as we still stay green. Are these 2 separate incidents? I think they might have been. Yeah. Well, no, that Musselman was trying to avoid Roofs hitting the wall, and Musselman got into it with somebody else.
Oh, yeah, he hit the wall hard. So.
Was that the 82 of Wayne Hunter? Yes, it was. There's the caution now. But the 2 collide and spin down to the inside wall. So the caution is now finally out. And I think that was kind of a delayed reaction to what happened a couple laps ago. So that was a dramatic one.
But yeah, it definitely was, and he was trying to find a way down to the inside, but there's no opening on the track. I mean, this track is already crowded when they get about 26 guys showing up here, let alone 30. So, yeah, so it's a very crowded racetrack. He just couldn't find opening traffic to bring it down. Guys are like, yeah, you might as well just stop on the outside, so we're under caution.
Under caution for the first time here at lap number 36. And I think everyone will take this opportunity to come hit pit lane here, Finian. 4 fresh Firestones and a tank of fuel, I think, would be the doctor's prescription here.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of fuel, looking at fuel mileage, it's about 55 laps on a tank, give or take. You know, these guys lifting off and coasting a little bit, could probably get some more mileage out of there. But about 55 laps on the short end, maybe around 60 laps when you're stuck in traffic, kind of coasting. Everyone's slowly moving their way down pit lane at just about 40 miles an hour.
And the boxes are a little tight. The pit road curves here at the end, so it can be a bit challenging to land in your box. The drivers will get in there nice and smoothly.
Yeah, we're talking about it again. You can't afford, just, you know, you make that mistake, you run through your box, you have to back out just a little bit. And leader out of pit lane is Robert Malechka. Sorry, Oster, then Robert Malechka.
That 91 is looking really, really good. And after his win last week, this is a name that we've seen pop up in seasons past, but I can't recall a season, Finian, where Malechka shot out of a cannon this strong at 2 tracks that are this diverse. Michigan and Iowa don't really share a lot in common other than their shape. If you scaled up Michigan or Iowa 2.5 times, you get something resembling Michigan, but Robert really has this oval stuff figured out right now, as does the Power Slide team. They've really got this on lockdown so far this season.
Yeah, the other thing is it is going to probably be maybe a few races, especially once we make a trip to a road course. Start making some some right-hand turns. It really will kind of show us what the pecking order is going to be for the championship in the slightly shortened season. From 17 races over the full year, doing half a year, and 12 races on tap. Actually, speaking of a road course race, next one will be next week on January 16th. We'll be heading to Road America.
National Park of Speed next week, the 4-mile twisting road course in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, one of my favorites. We'll be heading there, and there's a handful of drivers I know who will enjoy the trip to the home track. Evan Adams, and another home track for Mitch Welker. A lot of Midwestern-based tracks in the schedule here this season. kind of the home of, I didn't really realize, Finian, with how much NASCAR is kind of Southeast centric, how kind of Midwestern and central IndyCar is to North American history.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Fairly close to its home state of Indiana, for which the car, well, really the city of Indianapolis, the car's namesake. But yeah, I mean, it really makes sense. A lot of the tracks they went to, I mean, they kind of left NASCAR to its own devices, kind of hanging out in the southeast, while it went more for the Midwestern states, then eventually expanded nationally, especially to some really good venues like Long Beach. Actually, speaking of Long Beach, are we heading there this season? We are, second to last round of the season before we head to Indianapolis.
Yeah, really excited. Long Beach is one of those, I've never really gotten to truly sit down. The last time we've done an IndyCar broadcast at Long Beach, I was in a hotel in Nebraska.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to sitting down at a desk and properly broadcasting that one myself, because I've never gotten the chance to produce a race there, and I would like to. But,
yeah, especially, it's just such a beautiful track. I mean, racing, I would say the racing, honestly, for a street circuit is pretty good there. There's some pretty good passing opportunities around the track. It flows really well. And I would say it's pretty much one of the probably most prestigious races outside of the Indianapolis 500. I don't know if it'll be shot by saying that, but I think it's kind of almost earned that kind of legacy. I mean, it's been around for like 50 some odd years, I think.
I think it's the longest running street race in North America, and as far as I know, they just extended the contract through like
they did
2029 or something like that.
Yeah, it got a 10-year extension, so it's not going away anytime soon, which is glad to see.
So just a quick recap for those that just joined us. Lap 35, our first caution of the day. Aaron Roofs, AJ Musselman, and Wayne Hunter involved in that collision after Roofs got in the wall out of turn 4. Wayne Hunter is back out on the racetrack and looks to be rolling, so that's good news. Got that car repaired, and it didn't look like he really got tangled up in it too bad. It was Musselman and Roofs that took the worst of the hits, but now time to go back racing again. 130 laps to go. Jacob Oster for Team I5G is out in front and in command, and green flag back in the air here from Iowa. Just like that, a lap is already done. They sail around here at Iowa Speedway. Oh, car on the wall again out of turn 4. Was that the 20 of Fowler? He smacked the wall out of turn 4, very much like the 00 did on the opening lap.
Yeah, that's the thing again. That combination of cold tires and dirty air is a very treacherous one. And it did the exact same thing as Adams. I don't think he hit it as severe as Adams did, but was riding that high lane, expecting the car to grip a little bit more, and then just no grip was to be found, especially up on that top group. So just went a little bit into the wall. Looks like he is maintaining his speed a little bit better, although he's got a few cars, Matt Halaba and Tony Schowen hounding him in behind.
And one of those cars is just behind him, Andreas Eich in the 76. Haven't talked a whole lot about him tonight, but Andreas, one of the front runners from last season, started 25th tonight and is slowly but surely moving his way forward, much like he did at Michigan. Finn, he didn't light the world on fire in the first half of the race.
Yeah, also battle for second brewing between Flynn Lazier and Malechko. Wow, this is incredible. Flynn Lazier going to try to do the move on the outside. I haven't seen very many outside passes. He got a great run out of turn 4 on the straightaway and just managed to place the car and going to get it done.
Takes that Spark VR car to the top of the racetrack and goes around Robert Malechka and into second place. A strong run.
He made that look easy. If I'm Oster, I'd be a little bit concerned because it almost looked like his car was almost immune to the Aero wash. He just kind of was able to place that car, rip that high lane, and make it work. And he's already starting to make inroads on the number 09 up in first.
Yeah, I think one of those things you have to consider, right, is you're not locked into a setup here. This is an open setup series. There's things you can play with inside the car, things you can play with in pit lane, tire pressures, weight jackers, all those things to try to improve your car's performance in a given scenario, and Flynn might be on those controls trying to find any advantage he can over that race leader. And as you mentioned, last time by he was a little bit quicker than that front runner and is closing down the lead.
Also battle for 13th between Brewing, Chris Stouffer and Welker. I'm still really surprised by the fact that Stouffer has dropped so far down the field. Any more positions is going to be dropping outside the top 15 as he's trying to hold off Welker, trying to inside lane. Welker playing with inches, trying to slot in behind Stover and get some sort of run. Ooh, tries to have a late look to the outside, but can't do anything.
Yeah, he kind of unwound the wheel there just a little bit, and the car pushed a whole bunch, and he had to get out of the throttle. That was a scary moment. Matt Holleba just behind. Andreas Ike is closing in on this battle as well. So what was once a 2-horse race for 13th place is now 4 drivers. And for the lead, here comes Flynn Lazier here, Finian.
Wow, it took really no time at all. Had to get off the throttle just a little bit off of turn 2, trying to place it. Let's see, he's going to go for the inside late move, trying to push Oster up the track. Side by side for the lead.
Side by side for the top spot. Lazier on the bottom of the racetrack now. He did the previous pass on the top side. Oster leaves space, slams over the bump in the middle of 1 and 2, and Lazier has a taste of it for a moment, but Oster carries the momentum and goes around the outside.
He's going to try to hold that momentum on the outside lane. It's going to be the main thing probably keeping him in the lead. Indeed, he's able to defend it successfully that time by. But again, we mentioned how earlier Flynn was able to easily rip that top lane as well. So he's got a double-edged sword with him in that car. However he managed to set it up, it's looking pretty good. May take a few laps though to get back up to his rear wing.
Hunting for gears in 3 and 4 in the Spark VR car. Lazier out of Vail, Colorado. Just behind him, there's Rob Malechka, who he passed a little while ago on the outside. But did he use up those right side tires in that sprint to get to the front here, Finney? It looks like he's losing a little bit of steam.
Yeah, it may take a little bit of a run to get back, as you saw Oster, though, not a really good run off of turn 4 at all. Lazier already back to the rear wing of the 09 and going to try to get a great run off of turn 2. Oster stuck up high. Lazier is going to have to go low. No, he's going to stay up and try to make it work up high.
Yeah, he's got to carry that momentum, though, and he's going to lose the nose following Oster on corner exit. Now tucks back to the bottom, and this is where it gets very sketchy as you hit this bump right there over the center of 1 and 2, and he's going to clear Oster on corner exit and take the lead away.
Yeah, he had a really good run out of turn 4 and on the front straightaway. He's able to easily chuck the car into the insides. But it's going to be a tough battle, I think. Oster's still trying to hold strong.
Yeah, Oster not giving up just yet, but Lazier, now he's got clean air, put some distance on Oster through 1 and 2 that time around. Now Rob Malechka smelling blood in the water from the cut inflicted by Flynn Lazier. 57 laps into this 170-lap race. If it goes green from here to the end, 33 minutes of racing. It's not very long here. Stouffer, Holleba, and Ike battling for 14th place.
Yeah, it looks like Welker was able to not only just get on by, but completely check out. He's a second and a half up the road from Stouffer. And as I mentioned, Holleba and Ike trying to find their way around the number 13 car. I was trying to look earlier before that last car came out if Stouffer had hit the wall. I saw him graze the wall in the front straightaway once, but I didn't think it was anything too significant, but it may be the thing that's causing a pace drop for him as he's got more and more cars starting to hound him from behind.
Andreas Ike, again, we've documented his climb, started all the way back in 25th. He's moved forward quite a ways and hunting on the bottom of the racetrack, and as the race goes on, we see some drivers drifting up out of that bottom groove, but Ike's still able to place the car on the bottom and make up ground there relative to a couple drivers like you see Holleba on the outside. Drag race down the backstretch, Holleba and Ike for 15th.
Yeah, problem for Holleba is he's pretty much stuck between the wall and 2 other cars in front of him, nowhere for him to really go. You gotta just have to hope that Ike kind of bleeds some speed what comes out of the battle, or Ike actually made a really good dive but loses so much speed on exit that Holliba's going to charge through, almost clear Ike.
Let's try it again. Meanwhile, Lazier has put some distance on Oster. It's a 1-second lead now for the number 3 over the 09. Ike now facing pressure from Tony Schowen on the bottom of the racetrack. Schowen not having quite the showing that he was having at Michigan last week and running 17th, kind of middle of the pack today. Same could be said for, sorry to cut you off there, same could be said for Andrew Woodfinney, and haven't seen a ton out of the 64 yet today. He's up to 12th after starting 16th, but not amazing progress.
Yeah, definitely could be a lot quicker as Mitch Welker's the next car behind trying to chase him down. But yeah, it is surprising he seemed kind of back here. I was kind of expecting him to be more so in the top 10, but just a few positions shy of that spot as he's got Forsythe and Carey up the road.
And speaking of Welker, it's got to be an encouraging first half of the race for him. He started all the way back in 24th. It was not a very strong qualifying effort, but I mentioned that he would probably race a little bit better. He's already up to 13th and charging his way forward. He's quicker than at least 3 drivers ahead of him. So that proves that he's got top 10 speed and top 10 pace. Can he get there, though? He's got a lot of racing left, but not a lot of time. These laps tick off pretty quick.
Yeah, and it sounds like we're kind of a stuck record with him, but I'm really curious to see how he does in a field like this. Again, we mentioned it, and there's really not a whole lot of hyperbole because these are some of the best IndyCar racers on this service. So, and Mitch, I know for a fact, racing for him for a few years, he's one of the better drivers out there. He's got some really good pace. So to just seem to kind of fight up there as you're looking at this pack battle again, still, these guys cannot seem to find a way around Stouffer.
Watch Matt Holleba exiting turn 4 just a moment ago, right up to the wall in a big slide out of the rear of that car. He was chasing it up the hill, and he's going to do the same again out of turn 4. But really committed to that outside lane, it seems. But it's getting stacked up. Ike and Schowen chase each other to the bottom for a moment.
Yeah, Holliba's trying to build up a run, get a slingshot down into the inside, but can't quite get enough of a run down the straightaway to make that move work, because when you chuck it to the inside of the corner, you're going to bleed off a lot of speed on exit. You almost have to kind of clear an entry exactly like Holliba's going to try to do now. And you see him come up in front, so he's going to finally get clear of Stouffer and into 14th place. Now Ike is going to have to try to have a shot up the inside, but before he can say anything, here comes Schowen, who's inside 3 wide.
Schowen has been kind of trying to turn up underneath Ike for the last couple of laps, but Ike's been denying him the track space as we hit 100 laps to go next time by. And this grouping here, one of the closest on the racetrack and perhaps the most nerve-wracking. Chris Stouffer and Tony Schowen, these two are kind of tit for tat. They've been running kind of side by side last week and this week, so kind of surprising to see these two like this, but Tony Schowen for power slide and Chris Stouffer for intense racing. Moving back up forward, how about Jacob Oster working by some lap traffic now, but has Rob Malechka behind him, but they have all lost ground to Flynn Lazier, who's got a 1.3 second advantage now over everybody else.
Yeah, his car is just so dialed in. It's kind of really impressive to see how he's able to navigate the car. There's some tight battle in behind for second place with a lap car involved. 3 wide, Oster sliding up. Oh, and a car in the wall.
That is the 20 car, Chris Fowler. He was the one that hit the wall on the restart. And big push for Oster in the middle of the corner. That's going to bring Tim Holgate into the mix now with a big run for intense racing out of Cleveland, Ohio, down to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, and Fowler throwing the car to the inside is going to make a trip down the pit road after he dented his wing a little bit with that wall contact. But in behind goes Holgate trying to make the move on Oster, and Oster sliding up the hill. We're going to leave the door open for Holgate to throw it up the inside. Should be an easy move for Holgate. Not quite, as Oster's still going to hold his own.
Yeah, it doesn't appear that Oster's car is liking the bottom of the racetrack in 1 and 2. We've seen him go down there a couple times, and he kind of gets in the middle of the corner and kind of hits that bottom bump and then shot him up the racetrack. Avoided it that time through, but maybe a bit more line sensitive in the 09 compared to some of the other cars around him. But he managed to hang on to third after losing second after that battle with the 20 car. Here, meanwhile, Alexander Van de Sant and Jason Brophy fighting for 5th place. Both these two ran up front at Michigan last week and are doing the same again today.
Yeah, Brophy, I think for him, trying to look for some redemption after what happened in Michigan, what could have been another top 5 finish for him. He's trying to seal that as we can get Van der Sant to stay in behind him, and there goes the 97 in behind, 88 up to 5th place.
Are we thinking about pit stops at any point here, Finian? We got, what, 50 to 60 lap runs? And we restarted on lap number 40 or thereabouts, so we got to start thinking about those pit stops in the next 15 to 20 laps.
Yeah, and I already saw a few stragglers head down a pit lane, but I'm pretty sure most of them were either guys off sequence or just kind of pitting for damage. So haven't seen anyone quite yet, but yeah, as you mentioned, I think in the next 20 laps or so we're going to see a pit stop sequence occur, and that'll probably might be actually the last sequence for the race. You have to see, if not maybe one more after.
Wow, look at that run that Van de Sant got at the exit of the corner on Jason Brophy and goes right back to the bottom of the racetrack. The 88 will carry that speed on corner exit. Now it's going to be a drag race down the front straight. I think the 88 is going to win this overall, but that bottom can be such a useful place to dive if you've got the straightaway speed to take you down there.
Yeah, you really need to get a great run off the final corner and use that slipstream as short as the straightaway is, tucking in behind, slingshotting out, and diving into turn 1 is really one of the best ways to make a pass around here. at such a tight track, so he's going to have to kind of get behind. He can even do it in 3 and 4 here as they come flying off into turn 2. He can barely switch the cameras fast enough by the time to make it down the straightaway.
It's really impressive how fast these cars are around here. Meanwhile, for 10th place, car dropping to the apron, that is Brian Carey, and he will hit pit lane in the number 79 for Power Slide Motorsports.
Oh, Brophy also making a trip down to the inside. Gonna have to get the car walled up. It is a very tricky pit road entry, not so much because you're coming off the banking directly. You're throwing the car down the inside. You're trying to brake as late as possible down to turn 3 and keep the car pinned to that apron. Because if you clip that apron when you throw it down there, car's gonna slide up the track. If you go too fast, you clip that apron and you can end up spinning out and causing a caution. I don't think anyone wants to do that.
Yeah, see there that line connects there in the middle of the screen. Got to be on the apron by the time you get there. That was one of the rules that was talked about pre-race, pre-weekend. They don't want anybody trying to make that transition, Finian. So you got to be on the apron by the time you get to turn 3 before that line doubles up. Or I think it might be the further one actually, where the line goes back to single. I think that's actually where it is.
Yeah, so you just see guys just chuck the car down there and try to avoid very quickly. Yeah, I'm sure some of them at practice, I would really hope that they practice that maneuver because it's tricky to get right the first few times.
Greg Forsyth in the number 27. Started 18th in this race and is done with his first green flag pit stop. And now with the mix of strategies, this is when you hold your breath that a caution doesn't come out and muck it all up, Finian. That happened at Michigan last week where we were kind of midway through a pit cycle and that scrambled things around just a little bit.
Yeah, for a lot of the guys, I think they might just run the tank out. I don't think there's really too much in pitting early. They are going to have to make one more stop after this sequence because, again, we're looking to be about 55 to 60 laps in total on a tank. It's a little bit close at the moment to really say if they got an. I think they're going to have to definitely come back again.
Here is Marshall Stanley out of Los Angeles, California for Vortex Sim Racing, dropping into the pit box and going up on the air jacks. Haven't seen a whole lot of Marshall yet today, but there are some tracks and places that we always expect Marshall to run really, really well. And drops off the jacks and back onto the racetrack in a pretty short time span. Matt Hollabud's going to hit pit lane. Pretty aggressive on entry there, Finney, but got it mowed down.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to be as aggressive as possible without, making a mistake. I mean, it's easier said than done. Maximizing the pit entry, as we mentioned, is so hard to pass. You can gain quite a few spots by just throwing it harder, aggressively there. Or if you make a mistake, lose a lot of those spots back. See Andrew Wood also making the stop.
He's already out for Team Talent, so he will rejoin the racetrack and rejoin the race as we complete lap number 92. Race leaders are still rolling, Lazier and Malechka, and I think you're right, Finney. You're going to run the tank out. No real reason to get creative. You've got the track position and the time to spare, and I'm not really sure that that fresh tires are going to gain you a whole lot in single car speed here. There's just not a whole lot of time to lose. You're just glued to the ground with all that downforce that I don't think the tires are as important here as they would be at a larger speedway. No,
they're definitely not. I mean, you have to change them, obviously, but yeah, it's not the kind of trying to think of an analogy here, kind of lost it. But basically, it's not gonna really be the best strategy to try to get fresh tires and maximize that. It really is a matter of maintaining the track position. It's really gonna be the one that wins you the race. You see Lazier down on pit lane, surrendering his lead to Robert Malechka.
Back up to Malechka. Here he comes, and he's gonna hit pit lane now. Up, down onto the apron. Pretty aggressive. You see him kind of working the wheel there.
Yeah, and it looks like on cue, everyone's coming in around lap 58. Joe Branch looks like he's going to stay out for one more lap. Will be the one to inherit the lead as Holgate surrenders what would have been second place.
Ooh, Mitch Welker touches the wall there on the front straightaway. Unwound the wheel just a little bit too far. Just a tiny scrape, though. I don't think that'll be a very big deal.
Yeah, that's kind of making me a little bit concerned because I saw a similar thing happen to. Take a look at this contact. Saw something similar happen to Stover, and we saw Stover start to lose his lead, or really what he had earlier on. Dropped from third to pretty much around midfield for Welker. Doesn't look like it was that severe, so I would expect the car to continue as is.
A couple drivers on track still. Andreas Eich is the last driver running.
He is hypermiling this. He's going 60 laps and then some, and wow, it's going to pay off.
Oh, big crash on the back straightaway. Who was that?
I want to say Evan Adams?
Evan Adams is one of the two cars. A whole bunch of damage on that machine. What was the other? Let's go back and find out.
Oh, that was it was Flynn Lazier.
Oh, no. Was it our race leader? Here he is.
He clipped the apron, it seems. Oh, man.
And what the driver that would have cycled back to be the race leader involved in a collision on lap number 97 and just hits this apron.
He didn't even hit the apron. The car actually got unsettled before he got close to the yellow line.
I think it was the bump that got him there, Finney. And if you go back and look, watches the car right there, hits the bump, and that's what causes the rear end to skate. And nothing Evan Adams could do. He was just a victim of this. But man, what an impact!
Yeah, another suspicion I have too is the weight jacking. You can play with that kind of over the course of a run, and if you don't if you're kind of dialing in and have the car set up a little bit more loose when the tires start to wear off. And now you got fresh cold tires back on the car. There's not enough grip. You get the weight jacker dialed up too much. The back end's going to be a little bit more free and come around more easily. And around here, that's really unfortunate to see. One of the most dominant cars this race is going to be out.
And he probably could have saved it. He was on the track to saving it, but then Evan Adams obviously not able to do much about it. Grinds to a halt with what I presume will be race-ending damage for a driver that led so dominantly in the first half of this race. Well, that is a very timely caution for Andreas Ike. And I think he just completed his pit stop and should retain the lead here.
Yeah, I imagine was probably running on fumes. Because he was already on laps. He said he was on his 60th lap of his stint when he came in. So he was running very close to the edge of the fuel. But, I mean, it's going to pay off. Going to easily take the lead of this race.
Man, that was very lucky.
Yeah, and again, he started, 25th? Is up into first, so gain of 24 easily, the highest mover of the race. And we also can't count out for Mitch Welker. That was a really good caution sequence for him. He goes from 24th up into 4th. So both of those drivers gaining over 20 spots, which is kind of ironic, right? We were talking about how hard it was going to be to pass, but a little bit of luck, some strategy, gain you quite a few positions in those two drivers' cases.
Yeah, Joe Branch also gets an advantage out of this situation. How about a race recap here? 71 laps to go. 2 cautions for 8 laps so far. 3 leaders and 4 lead changes. Note how much smaller these numbers are than Michigan last week in terms of the leaders and lead changes. Not quite as much kind of a revolving door at the front end of the field here, Finney. And so the drivers that are up front are truly the strong ones. But this, again, the caution kind of happening towards the end of the sequence is going to turn things up on its head. There's going to be about 25 wave rounds here, maybe a bit more than that actually. 26 wave rounds that are going to come around the field and rejoin, but it should be Ike still leading over Robert Malechko when this is all said and done, if this pans out the way I think it will.
Yeah, and this sequence wasn't particularly good for Jacob Oster, going to drop all the way back from around 2nd, 3rd place, going to drop all the way around to 6th, so a little bit more work for him to do. But Oster just looks like his car was a lot better up and cleaner. Air in the dirty air, it's not handling particularly as well as it did. So I think maybe he's gonna have to change a few settings here for what could be our final run to the end. Or we could see a few more cautions. You never quite know. But this has been pretty clean race, all things considered. With how many cars we have, only 2 cautions. The racing has been fantastic too. All these guys have been putting around here. They've been going at it.
Well, they say there's a lot of things in life that are certain. Death, taxes, and cautions breeding cautions, Finney. I don't think we're done just yet. We've got 70 laps to go. And
is that how that quote works?
That's exactly how that quote works. Quick reminder that next week it is Road America. We're going to be running the Elkhart Lake Grand Prix next week, January 16th, Sunday night at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. That will be our first road course race of the season, so make sure you don't miss that. And also on Wednesday night, we're going to have a special charity broadcast for the Sick Kids Foundation, presented by HIP Motorsports. Drivers James Hinchcliffe, Tony Kanaan, Robert Wickens, and many, many more will be joining us and racing at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in GT3 cars Wednesday night at 7:30 Eastern. So that'll be a really fun one to watch.
Yeah, didn't even know they're showing up for that. Now I'm kind of sad I can't take part in that race, or take part in broadcasting race.
It's going to be a really good one. Not going to want to miss it.
Just don't call them another series champion.
Time to go racing again with 69 laps to go here. Andreas Ike, Rob Malechka, Joe Branch, Mitch Welker, and Tim Holgate, the rest of your top 5. Green flag back in the air, racing again in the Iowa 170. What Finian was referencing, for those that don't know, is that I interviewed Will Power back 2 years ago and accidentally called him a Daytona 500 winner instead of an Indy 500 winner. The most embarrassing moment of my life.
Yeah, I don't want to say it in public. You said in public.
I mean, it already happened. It's not like I can hide it. No Will Power in that in this broadcast.
Also got to mention the field is completely broken up. I mean, it doesn't seem like it is, but Andreas like up in front, Malechka dealing with 2 lap cars ahead of them. Joe Branch has got a couple. He's, I think, around 10th in line, and Tim Holgate, he's stuck pretty much smack dab midfield, even though he's lined up in 4th. You can already see the gap separating out quite a bit. So start not ideal for a lot of drivers because you don't really have the drop to the back rule in NASCAR. We don't separate the lap cars, kind of just let them stay in line. It's causing a lot of havoc midfield. You see 3 wide.
Yeah, saw one car get in the wall. Might have been Tim Holgate that scraped it on corner exit, but this battle for 6th is about to get a little bit spicy. There's Jason Brovey, Alexander Van de Sant, and Brian Carey. And here comes Chris Cahill in the 57 just behind, but getting a little frantic here, Finian. And for 3rd place, look at this.
Yeah, John, everyone's trying to get around John Downing, that Sadie car in the middle. Everyone's splitting him middle 3 wide as he's just trying to navigate on his own course. He's 5 laps down, just trying to survive to the end, and everyone's zooming past him.
Zooming is an understatement. That was an absolute freight train going around the outside and inside of the 00. But somehow he managed to do it okay. Now Mitch Welker up to 4th place. Again, that caution advantageous to the 16 and to the 28 of Joe Branch, who's fallen to 5th. But Welker hanging on very, very well right now, right behind Tim Holgate in the 3rd position.
Yeah, really, Andreas like taking advantage of the placement. I mean, had they lined up in sequential order, I think Ike would be at a little bit of a detriment. On raw pace, I don't think he can outspeed Malechka. However, Malechka's still trying to work through some traffic. I think he's actually just gotten clear of the last lap car. He can finally have some clean air to deal with, and he's got 60 laps to chase down Andreas Ike. May sound like a lot, but it's only 17 minutes from here to the end. He's got some work to do.
Well, their previous laps were exactly identical. That time Ike was a little bit quicker, but I don't think that's going to be the trend we're going to see to the end of the race. Here is Jason Brophy and Jacob Oster. That was very tight indeed through the middle of 1 and 2, nose to tail, and Welker just took a big dive. I think that's on Holgate into turn 3.
Yeah, trying to get the move done again with the lap traffic that they have to deal with as well. It's really tough to try to fight, and now Welker going to pay the price for making an attempt. Branch trying to throw it to the inside.
All sorts of passing happening right now. Alexis Newsom on the bottom of Craig Forsyth. That's in turn 2. Craig goes the long way around and gets the pass done on Alexis. Meanwhile, for 4th place, you mentioned Joe Branch getting by Mitch Welker. Welker touched that wall on the front straightaway again, wearing out the paint on the right side of that car. Just slight scrapes here and there, but has gotten away with it so far today. And Van de Sant all over Jason Brophy. These two were in a dogfight last week at Michigan. And I think Van de Sant came out better in the results at Michigan Speedway, but Jason was probably a little quicker overall. But, Finney, we're down to the last 16 minutes of this race, and Andreas Ike leads by 1.6 seconds. The lead is coming down, 0.2 a lap, but still, the luck fell right into Andreas Ike's hands today. This will be a mega day for him if he could finish out in the top 5.
Yeah, I'm also trying to check when was the last time this man's been in victory lane. He was teased so many times last season. Was so close. He was the eternal bridesmaid last season. So many 2nd places, so many 3rd places, but just was never quite able to get that win. And he led for a decent amount last season too in the race and in the championship standings in general, but just couldn't quite get that win in this series. I mean, I don't want to jinx him now, but he's on a good track tonight to getting it done.
Alexander Ball and Andrew Wood, this is for 17th. Trade those positions. Andrew Wood in the fence going down into turn 1, just a slight scrape. Big dive from, that wasn't Julian Alton, that was one of the lap cars there. But Julian Alton, another new driver here this season. Nice livery he's got on this car on the outside of Dan Inch. This is a battle for 19th. These drivers are 2 laps down, but still battling for position. Anything can happen. I'm not sure they're going to get their laps back here, Finian. There's a number of drivers that are 1 lap down that could be 2 laps down by the end of this race. And look at this mess in turn 2 again.
Yeah, I think they're just hoping the way things shake out, maybe they can try to get their laps back. As you mentioned, Welker trying to hold off Oster now. who's charging in behind from 6th place. Doing some slow car down the front straightaway as well, up the middle.
Dan Ench, the 52.
Oh, yes, he's going to get caught up as Van de Sant was trying to make a move around, and Brophy takes an easy chance. Oh, we saw a cone fly up on the track.
Tim Holgate, trouble, the 6 car.
Wow.
Out of the front. Another front runner with big time damage. And let's go back and see how it happened, the number 6.
Yeah, it's got loose off the exit of turn number 2 and a hard lick to the inside.
Again, a solo incident, which is not something you see a lot, but right there, just you can actually see, if we can slow this down, when you come up off the corner here, Finney, and the track actually, some racetracks, the back straightaway kind of rises to meet the banking. Here, the banking kind of drops away. The car gets a little light, had too much throttle in it, and just kind of gets into that death slide where you can't really correct it or do anything about it, and slams the inside wall. That was a big hit there.
And even Julian Alton got a little bit loose, if not got a little tail happy on exit right in front of him as well. But yeah, and this also comes to mention too that weight jacker. You guys are playing with it all night long. You turn it up just a little bit too much. It's fine throughout the middle of the corner when you need it to rotate, but on exit, when you really need the car to grip it, you just get that little bit of oversteer around the car will go.
I wanted to also point out one more thing here as we watch the replay. I wanted to point out, look at the right side of the tires and where they are in relation to the marbles, Finney, and maybe a little bit too high up on the racetrack. But either way, Tim Holgate's night, at least competitively, is done. Pit stop's done and complete, and Rob Malechka beats Andreas Eich out of pit lane. Joe Branch third,
Really?
Oster, Brophy, Van de Sant, and Mitch Welker comes out 8th. Not a good cycle for the 16 car.
Yeah, I was trying to take a look at how that happened. There's about a 0.6 of a second difference in pit stop time, so I think Malechka's crew are going to get a raise. Either that or Ike took maybe more fuel than he needed. And this should be the final stop of the race for these drivers.
Yeah, this will be it from here to the end. But not a lot of strategy from here on out. You're just going to basically run to the end, and it has gone from a 170 lap race to a 50 lap race essentially. It'll probably be more like 45 by the time we get back green.
Yeah, actually, in general, too, pit stop time aside, I'm taking a look at these guys' pit lane time. 34.3 for Malechka, 36.8 for Andreas Eich, so almost a 2.5 second difference in pit lane time between the two. It's kind of impressive to see.
Well, going back to what we talked about at the beginning, got to be perfect in the pits. Doesn't say you got to be pretty good in the pits, Finney. It says you got to be perfect. and unfortunately for Ike, a little RNG, little mistakes there. That's going to get him caught out.
Yeah, I mean, I said I didn't want to jinx him. Unfortunately, it looks like I jinxed him. I mean, it's been a while for him. His last win. Only 2 wins in this series has been running here, I think, since the beginning. It looks like since season 1. Quite a while back. When was season 1? 2016. His last win was March 22nd at Kentucky. In fact, his only 2 wins in the series were both at Kentucky. Really seems to like that track. I believe I saw that we have it on the schedule here.
We do. Maybe it is on the schedule this season, so maybe he could repeat, go 3 for 3 at Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he still has a chance tonight. It's not completely out of the way, although I'm sure he's probably looking at this saying, yeah, I've seen this situation play out way too many times last year. But we'll have to see. I mean, Malechka, clearly seen quite a few of the top runners make mistakes. I mean, with the recent one from Holgate earlier with Flynn Lazier, I mean, if Malechka makes a mistake, I think he's going to be having his Andreas Eich's going to have his fingers crossed and hope that's exactly what happens.
So after this week, we'll have some points to start discussing heading into Road America next week. But one of the things I like about this series is because it utilizes both ovals and road courses, you have a very different crop of drivers up at the front. Now, some of these teams sort of specialize in the oval setups, some of them specialize in the road setups, and some of them are good at everything, and some of them are bad at everything. and you get a good mix and a good group of drivers that kind of shift and shuffle depending on where you are that week. So really excited for our first road race at Road America next week and kind of ease our way into the diversity that this series offers. But so far in the points, we're really only to see the oval drivers come fourth. I think we have to wait a little deeper to let the road course ringers out and about.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do here. Pace car on the back straightaway, getting ready to go green. Just about, trying to do some math here real quick. About 30-ish, 35 laps left, right? Is that math?
That's
Is that correct math?
45?
Can we count?
Yes, 45 laps to the end.
Yeah, you're right. There we go. I failed math clearly.
Green flag. Well, at least I didn't fail art class. I know green means go, and we're going. Malechka, Ike, Branch, Oster, and Brophy are the top 5. Brophy all over Jacob Oster for 4th place. Here we go.
All over him was an understatement there. Very late dive, almost took him out on the middle of the straightaway, but can't quite get it done. A little bit of wash up ahead of him that's going to hurt his performance. Oster was flying to the wall, 3 wide behind him.
Alexis Newsom had to take evasive action there. She dove to the apron after Forsyth and Cahill almost got together at the exit of turn 4, but they gather it back up and they'll continue. At Holliba just behind, and there's the 0-0 of David Adams, who continues to run in this race after that lap 1 contact. He's 22nd. A frustrating day, I'm sure. He would have liked to have a chance to do a bit better than that.
Yeah, 22nd, 3 laps down. He's probably just kind of shaking his head this entire time of what could have been. And to continue looking at Oster trying to hold up Brophy. Brophy just waiting for the tires to kind of get warmed up. Then he can finally start making some more aggressive moves. You can see how much the slipstream is too. It's not, I mentioned before, not a long straightaway, but you just being able to tuck him behind, you can gain quite a bit of momentum and use that, throw the car into the corner.
And for the 0-0, it's a double whammy. Remember last week at Michigan, he crashed there. And with the trouble today, this will not be a very strong start to the season for that Sadie Sim Autosport driver. Here's Brophy back to the bottom of Oster again in 1 and 2. Andreas Ike drops to 0.8 of a second behind Rob Malechka. Could he go 2 for 2 in the early part of the season? And with the lack of Adam Blocker, Henry Bennett, or any of the other drivers that have been dominant in seasons past, I think Rob Malechka might be our new championship favorite if he's going to just go out there and win races 1, 2, and potentially 3 next week.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, some people, the fantasy, they couldn't pick him because he's just worth too much. His value's only looking to increase, even if he doesn't win the race. Looking for a really solid finish if things continue as is. Looking at Mitch Welker trying to make a move on Brian Carey, who's bound for 7th place going on.
Welker's got some pretty low tire pressures. You can hear the underside of the car slamming on that bump in 1 and 2. So maybe the tire's not quite up to where Mitch wants them to be just yet, but was enjoying a top 5 run until that recent pit stop. So that's got to be a bit of a frustration. Got a little lucky, gaining some spots, and got a little unlucky and lost some. Oh, right in front of him! Trouble! And Brian Carey spins, and Welker's in it.
It's almost a big one there, off of turn number 2, all the way down to turn number 3 on the back straightaway.
Oh, that breaks my heart for Welker. And Brian Carey, that car is destroyed. Let's go back and see how it all sort of kicked off. We saw it happen, but Carey just out of the groove a little bit, loose, wiggles and wobbles, and then Welker gets into him. And was that Cahill or Shawan? I think it was Shawan. Nope, it was Cahill.
Similar liveries on both those cars.
Here's a look from on board the 57. Man, that hurts. And for Welker.
Valiant drive from Welker to get that car from 24th, well, up inside the top 5 at its highest, but going to end up in the wall, taken out on the back straightaway, and really nothing he can do there.
Yeah, that is a shame. Project 2 car with Lazy Rocket on the side was doing very, very well for his first start in the series. It will end in calamity. And with all that, we're going to get another restart here. Malechka is in command. Ike, Joe Branch, Oster, and Brophy, the rest here at top 5. And the attrition level has been higher. I think we expected this, Finian, but we are down to only 14 on the lead lap. And that means that pitting right now is not going to hurt you a whole lot. You wouldn't want to do that, though. Tires aren't worth much. You can actually hear a couple drivers, at least a moment ago, were revving their engines to try to burn off some of that excess fuel that they took on the previous pit stop.
I was about to say a lot of them are doing that. They're just trying to burn out the extra fuel because they don't need it. It's useless. Might as well burn it. And you don't have to worry about the sustainability of the engine after this race because of infinite engines throughout the season. So you don't have to worry about overhead costs. But yeah, these guys are just trying to get any advantage they can get, even if it's just, a few milliliters of gas being burned. Anything to get a one-up on one another, especially trying to beat the man up on top at the moment, Robert Malechka. I don't think that's led too many laps today. I think only just really got the lead recently on this last run. Yeah, only 15 laps led this entire race.
Yep, and speaking of Rob Malechka, you just joined us. You missed the feature at the beginning of the broadcast. Malechka was the winner from last week at Michigan, and here is what that looked like at the Catalyst 317 at Michigan last week. Catalyst 317 at Michigan is green. We're racing.
Andrew has been trying to make up some ground all the bottom lanes. 14 speed laps to go, moved up to 10, now 8. He's trying to make a pass to David Adams.
A chance to avoid it. Oh, there it is. Trouble behind him. Crash in turn number 2. There's the car upside down, tumbling. Push from Pablo Diaz-Francis. No, he jumps to the outside. We're 4 wide for the lead. There's no way they're going to make that stick. Michigan Speedway, and the Catalyst 317 goes to Robert Malechka out of DeWitt, Michigan for Power Slide Motorsports. He wins at Michigan.
And definitely earned that one in my books. Been unfortunate finish under caution, but that fantastic move on the last restart definitely earned this win for the night.
Robert Malechka trying to go 2 for 2 in the 2022 Indy Elite Series. You're watching the Iowa 170 here on Sim TV. Kyle Heyer alongside Finian DeCuna. Finian, it's been a mighty one tonight. We've had a lot of good action, but a little bit of trouble and attrition along the way. 34 laps to go. We've had 4 cautions for a total of, now make that 19 laps. 4 different leaders, 5 lead changes. The most recent leader, the 91, who won last week.
Yeah, trying to see if he can get it done. I mean, at the a lot of his bigger competition guys like Flynn Lazier, Tim Holgate have crashed out of the race. So, looking at Malechka potentially, unless things change up near the front, might have a fairly easy shot at getting this done. Unless Ike, Branch, even Oster can get back up near the front. Even Jason Brophy too. I haven't seen a whole lot of out of the 88 car kind of sitting quietly in the middle of the top 10 the entire night. See if he can maybe try to poke his nose up near the front towards the end. I mean, we're running out of laps, though. When we get the green, I think we're only going to have, what, about 30 laps to go? I think I'm doing my math right this time.
This time you got it. Just about 30 laps to go. About 9 minutes is how long that should take us if we go green from here to the end. Back at the Iowa 170, Rob Malechka leads us back to the green. Ike in second. He gets left in the dust on the restart. Malechka's gone.
As if we got a lot of these restarts that played out. Leader just kind of jumps it, goes, and sets off into the sunset. As we got in behind Joe Branch, trying to see if he can get to the inside of Ike. Can't quite get a wheel in there. In behind a scramble of drivers trying to get any position they can with the laps winding down.
Into turn 1 now. Branch trying to go a half a lane up, and behind them, look at Brophy all over Oscar for 4th place. And here comes Branch to the inside of Ike again. Ike goes to the middle of the racetrack to defend.
They really got to wait a lap or two for these tires to warm up. Then you can really start throwing it. Otherwise, there's just no grip to maintain down there on that bottom lane where you can make that pass work.
Now all line astern. Look at Alexander Van de Sant to the bottom of the racetrack under Brophy. He wants a spot. And everyone else behind, I think, is mostly single file, with the exception of Alex Ball. He's trying to get by Christopher. This is all the way back for 11th. And behind them still, there's a battle of some cars that are about a lap or 2 down. Just trying to fight for scraps after nights that they'd like to forget here at Iowa.
Yeah, this battle for seconds really, I think, going to be the ones to watch. But a lot of heavy hitters so far this season. As young as it is, already starting to see very familiar faces up near the top of the order. They're all about to start duking it out here for these final few spots.
Jacob Oster going to try to ride the rim on the outside of 3 and 4. Takes a big run to the back of Joe Branch. Very calculated, though, didn't dive immediately to the bottom to try to kind of do the slide job in IndyCar terms here. But rides up to the wall on corner exit.
Yeah, just didn't feel confident at all. He doesn't need the inside. He's going to try to use the outside lane. This should be good for him. A great run out on the outside. Branch can't compete with that. Oster's easily going to take that 3rd place spot away.
And that takes a special driver to be able to just squeeze up the outside and make that run stick. But Oster is being very calculated about this. He's grabbed 3rd. Now the next driver on the list is Andreas Ike in 2nd, who didn't qualify very well and slowly and quietly raced his way forward. Got very lucky on the caution and now is trying to defend. I don't think he's going to have the pace to run down Malechka, but Oster might.
Yeah, we just saw Brophy also do a very similar maneuver to what we saw Oster just do a few laps prior. So Brophy was going to move himself up into 4th place. Yeah, as you mentioned, Oster trying to see if he can get past Ike. And he's got a lot of work to get past Ike and then try to catch Malechka as the laps are really winding down. He's got 6 minutes to try to make something happen.
Here's Alexander Van de Sant to the outside of Joe Branch in turn 4. And again, using the upper groove to carry that speed. And listen right here. Bam, car bottoms out, and you see that he had to lift big time there. He hit the bump a little bit too aggressively. That's going to cost him some time.
Yeah, you really have to be careful when you run that out to the lane. That bump stretches on the inside. If you stretches on the outside, it just throws you towards that wall, it seems. If you catch it the wrong way, and Van de Sant had to give up a lot of momentum down the straightaway to get the car back on track. Now going to try again. It's very close to the wall as he got out of the throttle. You can see visually how much time he loses on exit.
Yeah, building your handling over that bump. I'm sure that was a big discussion in teams this week, is how to handle that. You know, how soft do you make the suspension? Oh, look out as he tries to close in on Joe Branch on corner exit. He gets kind of in the aero wash right on exit, which makes me nervous because it's so easy to slide the nose as Branch goes to the bottom now in turn 4.
Oh, and it looked like he might have had a chance of getting a run off of turn number 4, but clips the wall. And that's going to kill any momentum he would have potentially had.
Now 20 laps to go. And race leader Robert Malechka, again the winner from Michigan last week, has a 1-second lead over Andreas Ike in the 76. Jacob Oster is third, then it's Brophy and Branch the rest of the top 5. Van de Sant, Forsyth, Newsom, Holliba, and Tony Schowen the rest of the top 10. Here's Alexis Newsom now trying to run down the 27. These two have been battling all night long.
Yeah, she's been making slow and steady progress this race. Started back in 12th, has climbed her way up to 8th, although don't think she's going to quite end up here. May see her go if you can catch up to Forsyth just up the road. You can get a great run out of the corner.
Carrying good speed. That car looking very sticky, but maybe not as slippery as it needs to be on the straightaways. Look at this battle down the backstretch. There's Chris Cahill in the middle of all of it, battling Marshall Stanley for 16th place. And the 20 car, Chris Fowler, this is all for position. The 71 leading this fight. 4-way battle for 14th and to be the first car 1 lap down. They have a chance at getting back that lap to the end of this race, but they're running out of opportunities.
They really are. It's just because there's no lucky dog in this series. You're going to have to race for your lap back, as is in the actual IndyCar series.
That can mean that your nights can be very, very long. If you've done something like David Adams where you get in the wall on lap number 1, that basically dooms your night if you don't have the strategy fall your way.
Yeah, although I gotta say, props to him for sticking it out. I mean, it's definitely not a night to remember, but I mean, with the amount of attrition we had, he was gone from running around in 30th up into 20th just by sheer attrition. So at least have some sort of something good to look on him this night. He's gaining more and more positions. I think he's kind of hoping there's a few more races before the night's over. He can find his way inside the top 15.
Trying to minimize damage. It's a short season. Every race matters. And Robert Malechka working through Dan Ench lap traffic. Ench will go down another lap. Puts him 3 down now as Malechka closes in on 10 laps to go. Andreas Ike has lost some ground. And Oster now has Brophy to deal with. That 88 car is storming forward. Now think of all the issues he had last week with pit stops, so he's made up for it. He is flying forward now in the closing laps of this race.
Trying to see if he can get a podium before it's over. Unfortunately, lap car's up ahead. He was thinking about making a move to the inside when he saw the lap car of Dan Inch who's taking up his lane. So gonna have to maybe wait another lap to see him go up high. Gonna lose a little bit too much time this attempt, so he can't quite get anything out of it.
Yeah, 3-way battle for second. This is going to be the hot one as we get down to the tail end of this race. Ike, Oster, and Brophy. And Joe Branch is not too far behind if things get silly between these 3. But Malechka trying to run the laps down. 10 laps to go now for the number 91 of Malechka. He's trying to go 2 for 2 in the first 2 races of the season. How about a battle for 6? Van de Sant and Forsyth in the 27 going the long way around.
And Forsyth just gonna stick his car ahead, gonna clear Van de Sant by the time they get to turns 3 and 4.
It's the job done. Yeah. Then back up to Ike. If he could hang on to second, I'm sure he would have liked to win Finian, but this would be a fantastic run. He was not trending in a position where he would go home in the top 5 tonight, maybe a top 10 if he was lucky as Oster dives underneath Andrew Wood. But this is going to be a very good result for the 76.
I mean, remember, in general, he got lucky after that caution came out. And we saw that pit stop sequence get all messed up. He was running okay before that happened, but I mean, he was running around midfield, around 12, 13 spot before the caution came out. That pretty much boosted him up into the lead, and he's been up in those top 2 spots ever since then. So I think compared to where he started earlier on, especially starting back in 25th, it's been a very good night.
Well, it just goes to show you how tricky it is to pass here and how much track position matters. And he got it in kind of an unconventional way, but passing is passing, whether or not it was helped by a yellow flag or not. As we get down to the final 5 laps worth of racing, Robert Malechka shooting out of a Cannon Power Slide Motorsports. Now, Finian, perhaps this should be no surprise. Think about the team, think about past champions, think about Adam Blocker, all Power Slide drivers, and it's the same masterminds behind the setups that go into this car week in and week out. So maybe this isn't much of a surprise to anybody. Maybe to us because we didn't really think about it, but Malechka just sort of continuing on the Adam Blocker legacy here.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the big 3 in IndyCar, you know, Ganassi, Andretti, and Penske. And typically, most of the champions, most of the race winners have come from those 3 teams. There's a reason for that, and I mean, we're seeing the same thing here with Power Slide continuing on, and a few of the other similar team names. They both continued on, same guys building setups. Typically, they really know what they're doing because it's clearly working with Malechka up near the front, a few laps away from taking second win of the season, and only the second race of the season.
Matt Holleba up around the outside of Alexis Newsom. She drops to 9th. 2 laps to go now for Malechka, though you're right. You think about the big names in IndyCar. The cars are all basically identical, and it's just the drivers and the teams that have to adjust the car with driving talent and with driving setup. And they've kind of hit something on the head here to start off the 2022 Indy Elite Series season. Last week, it was his hometown, his home race at Michigan Speedway, where Rob Malechka went to victory lane for the first time this season. But here in Iowa, a long ways from home, he's going to come out of turn 4, and the Iowa 170 goes to Robert Malechka for Power Slide Motorsports. He gets it done. For the 2nd time this season, Andreas Ike 2nd, Oster in 3rd, then Brophy, Branch, Forsyth, Van de Sant, Matt Holleba, Alexis Newsom, and Tony Schowen, the rest of your top 10. As the rest of the drivers make it to the finish line. A frantic race dotted by cautions, but 2 for 2 for Power Slide Motorsports and Robert Malechka. Finian, what a strong start to the season.
Yeah, really strong start of the season. I mean, now you get those 2 races in. Maybe if you get a few more in, we can really start to see a potential favorite for that championship crown. I'll have to see if he can continue on the next few rounds.
Well, I think the critical factor is the road racing. Will Robert Malechka be able to keep his advantage in pace when we head to Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin next week? But so far, pace has not been the issue for the number 91 of Robert Malechka. He gets it done here, Finney. Let's have a look at our race results. Top of the order, again, that number 91. Andreas Ike, though, the luck in his favor tonight, comes home 2nd.
Yeah, I think he's just going to be happy with another solid points finish. We typically see him kind of looms in the later part of that top 5, but in the top 5 nonetheless. Jacob Oster, too, started on pole, wasn't able to quite bring it there, but a solid podium for him. Brophy, Joe Branch bringing it home, rounding out your top 5. Holleba, a good finish for him back in 8th. And Tony Schowen also sneaking his way into the top 10.
Yeah, looking at the next page here, Chris Stouffer, Alex Ball, Andrew Wood, Julian Altena, Chris Cahill, the rest of the top 15. So pretty decent runs there. Surprised we didn't see more of Andrew Wood tonight. He didn't just get unlucky. It just was kind of a quiet evening. Didn't really make a big splash.
Yeah, it really wasn't. I guess that is the big surprise. I'm not sure if he's surprised of it or maybe knew probably going in. His car setup probably wasn't the best, but I mean, definitely a finish in the top half of the field is something to be at least somewhat content with. And then going on to the next page, we pretty much have all the guys that ended up retiring, if not just having a really poor day in general. Some Midge Welker, Brian Carey, Holgate, Flynn Nazir, big heavy hitters all throughout that order taken out.
Yeah, and of course, Malechka 2 for 2, but we're going to talk to Jacob Oster in 3rd before we talk to Robert. Jacob came home in 3rd place, and it was a valiant battle there at the end with Andreas in the number 76 and Brophy in the 88, Jacob. But this week, another strong run for you in that number 09. Got to feel pretty confident about your speed on the ovals, but what did you need to go run down Andreas and Robert?
Well, we really got unlucky with the caution timing. If that wouldn't have happened, it would have been Flynn, Robert, then me, and I feel like me and Robert both could have passed Flynn on the long run. He was very, very good at the start. It just really came down to not having enough adjustability, and that's my fault, to where I could run different things and keep up speed. I really wish I could have got Andreas. I think I could have. Thankfully, I had Trano helping me in the background, telling me what to do, giving me good pointers, and helping me try to run better.
Well, the ovals so far have not been much of a problem, but we head to our first road race next week at Road America, the National Park of Speed. How do you feel about your opportunities on the road course side of things to grab some points for the season?
Well, if Open's any indication, we have a really good shot. Back a couple weeks ago, Trano won the Open SOF with the set I'll end up probably using with a couple modifications, and Power Slides was just about even there, so I would watch out for Alex and Robert. Hopefully have a good battle there. I do need to work on road courses a little bit, but I feel really confident going in there. Road America is a real fun place.
Well, a strong run here, a third place, a podium for Jacob the Knight. Jacob, thanks so much for talking to us. Best of luck to you next week at Road America. We'll see you there.
Thank you, guys.
Moving on now to our race winner, Robert Malechka, the third 2-4-2 this season at Michigan. Last week it was a home race win, but Robert tonight in Iowa coming home and coming through to lead and win the race. And I got to say, you led 50 laps, but it was kind of the final 50. You didn't appear in the early stages that you'd be dominant, but at the tail end, nobody could catch you. Take us through your night.
Yeah, the first 100 or so laps, Flynn was the class of the field. You know, he 100% had the best car. I don't really know what happened to him, but yeah, the first 100 we were just riding. We knew our set was really good for late in the night, so we were a bit too tight, especially that first stint. But yeah, you know, the field got kind of strung out there. Was able to make a ton of time on Flynn on pit road. Yeah, I guess I beat him out. I don't really know what happened, but yeah, and then, you know, that last restart, it seemed like everyone was pretty loose. I know I was close to wrecking loose, so I was just trying to manage the gap to Andreas, and you know, came on with the win.
Well, it was a strong night in it for Flynn, just so you're aware. Came off a pit lane, basically hit the bump in the middle of 1 and 2, and it might have had some low tire pressure issues there, but got in the wall pretty hard after that, and that ended his night. But Robert, 2 for 2 this season. Well, we talked to Jacob Oster, and he said he felt confident about Road America, and Power Slide has been pretty good on the road courses as well. Your thoughts on going road racing next week?
Yeah, you know, we should be pretty good. Personally for me, if I can walk out there with the top 4, top 3, I would take that with how I ran open. But yeah, you know, we'll see what the track gives us, see how much we have to change the setup, and yeah, hopefully it's another good show.
All right, good show has never been the problem here, Robert. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week at Road America.
Yep, thanks guys, have a good one.
Thank you. All right, Finney, wrapping things up here from Iowa. What a battle, what a night. I love watching these guys race. Certainly the shortage is not in the action. It has been a fantastic season so far, only 2 rounds in, and we already have got our front runner sort of established. But we go road racing next week. What's going to turn up on its head?
Yeah, we really got to see. I mean, again, we got a really solid group of drivers coming in, and again, some drivers moving around to different teams. So the order has definitely been shaking up a little bit compared to last year, especially with a lot of last year's dominant drivers departing. So it's really interesting seeing now, again, the new cream of the top, I guess, rising to the top, at least on the road course side of things. We kind of figure out who's who on the ovals. Now, next time to see really who's who on the road course when we head next week to Road America.
Road America, the National Park of Speed, coming up next week on Sim TV, the Indy Elite Series, the Elkhart Lake Grand Prix. We'll see you there next Sunday night, 7:15 Eastern. Kyle Heyer alongside Finney DeCuna, and we'll see you next time.